Number 1. The weekend after my 24th birthday in February of this year, I went on a blind date that ended atrociously. That's not the scary part though. I bought a ticket for my date myself, but the movie didn't start for another 45 minutes, so I just waited in the theater lobby until she would show up. I was on the far left corner of a bench when a large, burly man walked up to the bench and sat directly next to me. "Hi," he said. As a slightly awkward guy, I sheepishly said, "Hi." The man smiled, opened up his coat, reached in, and pulled out a package of salami. "This is the best motherfucking salami. You want to buy some?" he asked. "No thanks, I'm full," I said. He raised his eyebrows and put the salami back in his coat. In the same movement, however, he pulled out a package of cheese. "And this cheese? You want to buy some goddamn good pepper jack?" He leaned towards me with his question. "No, I'm afraid not." He sighed, put the cheese back in his coat, and zipped it up. The man was silent for the next 5 minutes, but my heart was pounding from being uncomfortable. The man finally relented and nudged me. He pointed at the poster for Mockingjay. "That's a fine-ass logo," he smirked. I looked at the poster. "It is pretty cool, isn't it?" I forced myself to say. "I'm a tattoo artist. I gotta put it on someone. Maybe you. Yeah, I would love to ink your canvas. I mean, you're well built. One could do wonders with your skin." I went wide-eyed in dismay at how creepy this guy was. I couldn't even respond at this point. "I'm also a musician. I bet you have great vocal cords. I'd love to audition you." He smiled at me. "Maybe another time, man. I'm meeting my date any second now," I said. "Is she hot?" he said, with his tone deeper and more serious. "I don't know. We'll see." "Well, lucky her," he said. He reached down and stroked my hairline and ran his finger through my admittedly long hair. "Lucky her." I sprang to my feet and stomped out of the theater. "Oh, come on, man. You can't just leave me like..." He shouted after me when a theater usher stomped up to him and yelled at him to leave. After 3 minutes, I re-entered the theater and the creep was nowhere to be seen. I can handle myself, but I feel violated by the whole incident. Number 2. So, I'm a guy, and about 11 years ago when I was 8 years old, me and my family, as well as my brother's girlfriend, went on a holiday to Australia to visit some relatives on my mom's side of the family. They lived in the rural parts of Victoria, and to give a basic summary of the area, they lived on a farm. The house was surrounded by various fields. When facing the house on the left side, there were 2 fields, and then at the far end of these fields, there was a highly wooded area with a dirt track running through it. My grandparents would often go on nature rambles through the forest to spot the wildlife that lived within there. My mother, being a dedicated bird spotter, decides to head off with me and my brother's girlfriend Lisa into the forest, as we both had a fascination with wildlife. We must have been walking around the dirt track for around 10 minutes, taking pictures of the various animals we'd seen. We passed by a line of motorbikes and around 7 bikers having a barbecue. One of the bikers politely smiled at my mother and she responded with a simple, "Good evening." As we walked past them, one of the bikers approached us and asked where we were going. We told them and they informed us that they had been camping in this area for around 2 nights. They told us to be careful as people had been shooting game in the forest. These people apparently had aggressive dogs, so we were told to be careful. Around 15 minutes later, I'd spotted an old barn, and being the adventurous child I was, I dashed off to explore while my mother and Lisa observed a bird of some kind. I didn't tell them where I was going. As I approached the barn, I saw 3 large dogs tied up outside. They were Rottweilers and they seemed incredibly aggressive. They were on chains and barking and snarling a lot. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed they were for hunting, but looking back, Rottweilers are not hunting dogs. There was also an old mattress on the floor outside which appeared to be covered in brown stains and emanated a foul aroma. I was around 3 feet away from the mattress, but the smell was unbelievably powerful. As I was going to turn around to return to the others, I saw a man emerging from the barn. The image of this man is one of the few things I remember clearly from this day. He was very tall, around 6'4" or so, and was wearing a blue pinstripe suit. The strangest thing about him was that he was wearing a large top hat. His clothes seemed very worn, and his face, well, the parts that weren't covered by his large brown beard, were red, as if he had been working out on a hot day. I remember the man smiled and approached me. I asked him if he was a magician, to which he said, "No, I look after doggies. Do you like doggies?" I told him I did. This is where things started to get weird. He began to approach me and asked if I wanted to come inside and have a picture taken with the dogs. I politely refused and said my mom would be looking for me. He grabbed my hand lightly and said it would only take a second. At that point, I heard my mom shouting at the man, demanding to know what he was doing. She had come looking for me. The man simply let me go and just stared at her. She asked him again, in which he continued to just blankly stare. He didn't say a word. My mom immediately grabbed my arm, and me and her and Lisa walked as quickly as possible back to the entrance. We got about halfway there when I turned around and told my mother that the magician was following us. She turned around and, sure enough, he was power walking behind us. My mom screamed at him and asked what he wanted. He didn't reply, he just simply continued power walking towards us. At that point, my mom began walking even faster to the point that she was dragging me along. The next part of the story is mostly a blur to me. I remember my mom gasping, picking me up, and sprinting full pelt with me while screaming for help. My mom tells me that the man had begun running towards us and managed to grab my leg. She said that Lisa jumped on the man's back and scratched all across his face before he threw her on the floor. My mom apparently kicked the man in his testicles, grabbed Lisa off the ground, and ran with me over her shoulder. I remember we slowed down shortly afterwards and stopped to catch our breath. We continued looking over our shoulders just in case the magician decided to show up again from the brush area. My mom began to panic and started running with me again. The man was sprinting after us. We were nearing the area where the bikers were camping and my mom screamed for help. Two bikers emerged from the trees nearby and my mom screamed, "That man tried to kidnap my son!" The magician turned around and immediately bolted in the other direction. One of the bikers pursued him, but unfortunately, the magician had a head start. I remember the bikers were incredibly nice, and I soon forgot about the strange man after one of the bikers let me sit up front on his motorbike, while my mom and Lisa went in the sidecar. The guy took us into the nearest town and dropped us off at the police station where my mom filed a report. After that, he gave us all a ride back home, which was really nice. I never got to thank him at the time, as I really didn't understand the situation. As for you, magician, whose intentions for me I'm unsure of, let's not meet ever again. Number 3. About a year ago, a group of 3 other girls and I went to a bar for one of their 21st birthdays. We had been at this bar for around an hour drinking and eating when this guy approached my group. Seemed cool, but now I see that it was sort of weird. My friends and I were at a table away from the bar. He literally walked up to our table and said hello, but we mutually thought that he was charming and attractive. My friend celebrating her birthday invited him to sit and that she'd buy him drinks. He sat next to me and I found him pretty intriguing, so I asked him some questions. His name was Aaron. He was 24. I was 21. He lived in town. We all lived in town. After about half an hour, he offered to buy me a drink at the bar. He was weirdly forward. "I want to buy you a drink. I like you." But slightly tipsy me was all for it. We separated from the group and chatted about who knows what for about an hour until my friends called a cab and it was time to go. As I was leaving, I asked for his phone so I could enter my number. Then he was so forward again, and I now see it's really pretty damn weird. He said, "Yes, Maggie, I'd like that. I like you. I really like you. I'll text you." At the time, it just seemed really sweet. I was so incredibly flattered. Oh no, it does not end there. Next day, I get a text from a random number. "Hey Maggie, it's Aaron from the bar last night. We should meet up ASAP. I love talking to you." Okay, I wasn't tipsy anymore. He was weirdly forward. I just sort of got, that feeling. I replied something along the lines of, "Hey Aaron, it was nice talking to you too. Maybe we can get some coffee later this week." Literally 20 seconds later, I get another text. "Well, I would actually enjoy the bar again. Tonight? Just us?" He was creeping me out. I just wanted to be nice and not ignore him. I replied, "Actually, I can't tonight. I know some pretty awesome coffee shops though." Again, 20 seconds later. "No, bar, please." Yep, That was it for me. I replied, I can't, sorry. No reply. I told my friends. We decided he was just a little too weird for me. But oh no, it doesn't end there. 3 weeks later, Aaron's a thing of the past. Friends and I had gone to that same bar and there was no sign of him. One day, I went to the grocery store by myself. A little while after getting home, I got a photo text. It was a zoomed in picture of me at the grocery store. The caption was, I saw you at the store, Maggie. It was from Aaron, who was now named Heebie-Jeebies, so that I wouldn't forget he was a little too creepy. I replied, oh, I would have said hi if I had seen you. No reply. You bet I texted my friends that he had returned. Still, it doesn't end there. Around 10 p.m., I get another text from Heebie-Jeebies, a picture of me getting into my car at the grocery store. Caption, I saw you at the store, Maggie. No thanks. I replied, please stop sending me photos of me. It makes me very uncomfortable. Thanks. No reply. I called my mom and she panicked and suspected he was either a stalker, a psychopath, or a serial killer, and that I was his new obsession. I told her that he really hadn't done anything that crazy though. My friends sided with my mom. Thanks guys. If you're wondering why I didn't block him right then and there, it's because my friend scared the shit out of me by mentioning, if you block his number then you won't see his pictures. What if he keeps going and he's right outside your house and sends you a picture, but you don't see it because he's blocked? Thank God she came up with that scary movie-esque idea. About a month later, I was at home with a friend and we were binge watching American Horror Story into the wee hours of the night. The next morning, I get a text from Aaron's new nickname, Potential Stalker. It's a photo of my friend and I, on the couch, taken from a gap in my curtains on my living room window. The caption read, give me a call please, Maggie. My heart sank. Fuck no, I'm out. Lines have officially been crossed. I had that feeling of utter dread that's so strong it makes you feel sick. I immediately called the friend that was in the picture and she raced over. Yes, we definitely freaked out together. We decided to make a police report that morning, and since he was on my property, he could have been charged with at least trespassing, possibly stalking. The police called his number. The number was no longer in service. He had sent me a text just 3 hours before. I felt like I was in a fucking horror movie. I obviously changed my number and blocked his number, whether it was in service or not. Since he could be charged with trespassing and could potentially show up again, the police had me stay at a friend's for a few days while they watched my house. Nothing. I went home after those few days and they had someone drive by and sit for a while a few times a day for about a week. I had them on speed dial. I still didn't feel safe. I had friends stay anytime I could. I moved out with help into my friend's house temporarily until I could find a new place, on the opposite side of town. To Aaron, let's never meet again. Number 4. Okay, so 7 years ago I was a preteen, 12-year-old girl, and I was really into World of Warcraft, like really into it. I would wake up at 4 a.m. and play until I had school, then play until I had to go to sleep. During summer break, I would play all day, every day. So when I was 13, I joined a guild that seemed to have a lot of chill people, just into achievement hunting, pug runs, and would help with quests for the low levels. There was this one man, we'll call him and his character Pedo Bear. Pedo Bear would start messaging me all the time, getting me to go on vent all the time, things like that. Of course, I was a naive 13-year-old and thought this was okay and kind of exciting. So we would talk a lot, and eventually I added him to a secondary Facebook account I made specifically for him, which didn't have my address or anything on it. There were a couple pictures of me, and he would comment on them and call me beautiful and such. After creeping through his profile, I realized he looked a lot older than me, and having never asked him his age before, I decided to nonchalantly bring it up. Pedo Bear, with zero shame, admits that he's 26, literally double my age. I don't really know what to do, so I just act like it's fine. He started getting creepy on me right after I asked his age. Every time he asked me to go on vent, he began talking dirty to me. And I don't mean just lovey seduction shit, I mean like, have you ever had someone lick all the way up your spine? I'd love to be your first. And creepy shit like that. I never said anything more than, oh? back, and he always took that as I was shy and uneducated. I let him believe that. This went on for several months, and he would send half-naked pictures to my Facebook account and just got creepier by the day. I left the guild and blocked him off of everything when he said he had a surprise for me. And upon asking what it was, me, being the naive 13-year-old I was, thought it was a cool mount or a companion. He said he had saved up money and was going to fly to me. He knew what province I lived in without me telling him, and he was going to come, take me away, and make me feel things I never felt before. I haven't heard from him since, and I deleted my Facebook account and switched servers. But to this day, I'm always keeping my eye out for the creepy fuck, since I don't know if he'll get it in his head and try to steal me away still, considering he narrowed down my whereabouts and could possibly do more. Pedo Bear, let's not meet. Hey guys, if you made it this far, we really appreciate all your support. If you haven't yet joined the Ghoul Gang, you can do so right now by hitting that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed these scary stories, go ahead and hit that like button so we know we're doing a good job. And with that being said, please don't forget, nothing on this earth is more scary than a fellow human being.